Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Paul Felder to defeat Mike Perry. And I'm here to talk about Ilir Latifi versus Rodrigo Nascimento. Nascimento is 30 years old, 9-1, and he's got 4 inches of height and 5 inches of reach on Ilir Latifi, who is 40 years old and has a record of 16-8. Latifi, I think he's been in the UFC for over 10 years now. I remember him making his debut in Sweden. But he is 40 years old now. He's well past it, and he's always been kind of a limited fighter, and I think here he's kind of fucked either way. I don't think Rodrigo Nascimento is going to be able to fight to his full potential because this is a guy that wants to be on top of you, and Ilir Latifi doesn't let anybody on top of him. You know, there's nobody I can remember wrangling this guy. And Nascimento, even though he's a big physical guy, I don't think that's a path to victory for him. You know, unless you can knock him down. That's always a path to a takedown, you know, with your fists. But on the feet, I think Nascimento, if he's able to keep this at range and not let Latifi just smother him, I think Nascimento will eventually find a lot of success against Ilir Latifi. Latifi is a limited striker. I don't want to just say he's relegated to winging overhand rights or whatever, but, you know, he's still very much a wrestler. Just had an incredible career because of his pedigree of wrestling. But here I think this is going to be a case of the newcomer being too much for him. Nascimento is a big, tough guy to dominate. He's been beaten once. It was by Chris Daukaus. Knocked him out. And Daukaus, say what you will about him. He's a glass cannon and whatever, but he is a cannon, you know, even if he is made of glass. And he had enough to get Nascimento out of there. But Nascimento, I like what I've seen from him in close fights. That Alain Bordeaux fight, which I think is overturned for drugs or something. I never pay attention to the drug tests. But that was a fight in which he showed a good amount of grit. And things weren't going his way. He had to take it in round 1, and he took a good amount of punishment there. Even not that he was getting his ass kicked, but he was definitely getting the worst of it. And then slowly but steadily took over that fight. Started pumping out like 10 jabs in a row, and then took over and finished Bordeaux early in round 2. And speaking of round 2, that's where he got Dontel Mays out of there with a rear naked choke. You know, this guy, if he is able to get you on your back, if you do have suspect wrestling, he's going to exploit a big hole there if you don't want to be on your back, because he's a big, strong guy with pretty good ground game. Again, though, I think that's going to be taken off the table here. I don't envision him crowding Latifi. I think he's going to have to fight more on his feet, and he's probably going to be looking to, because even in the clinch, you know, up against the cage, Latifi is a tough guy to dominate, you know. Rodrigo Nascimento loves crowding guys. I think he's going to have to fight, you know, to, you know, his, not his weaknesses, but not fight to his primary strengths here. Because Ilir Latifi's not your typical fighter. But Ilir Latifi is still very limited, where I think Nascimento will win this fight. You know, he's going to have to fight not his favorite way, but he's going to have to find another way, and it's still going to be good enough to take out Ilir Latifi. I like Nascimento striking once he gets going, and I like his cardio as well. The one doubt I have about him is his chin, and I don't expect that to be an issue here against Latifi. Latifi does have power. He can crack, but he's now limited athletically, agility-wise, and he's always been kind of limited as a striker. So I think if Nascimento minds his P's and Q's and avoids the overhand right, then it's just a matter of staying away from Ilir Latifi for a good portion of the fight, and he's going to win. He's going to pull ahead. So Nascimento is the pick. I've played his money line at minus 180, but I'm not going to pick one way or the other. I do think Nascimento, if he does take over this fight, he could put Ilir Latifi away, but I can't trust it. Latifi's only been put away by Ryan Bader, Jan Blachowicz, big body shot, Volkan Oezdemir, and this capable Japanese fighter, Tatsuya Mizuno. But I still expect Nascimento to win. I think, you know, Latifi's not quite washed like even Olenek was. recently. That's Ilir Latifi's most recent win, actually, is against Alexei Olenek. But Ilir Latifi is still a 40-year-old. He's 40 years old, and the wheels will come off eventually. I think they're going to stay on maybe for this fight, but he's going to lose. Rodrigo Nascimento is the pick, and Rodrigo Nascimento's money line is the bet, minus 180. Like, share, subscribe, all that horseshit. Check out my other videos.